Hello and welcome to our story, Navigating the Real Estate Business. In this week's episode, my husband and I will talk about our side hustle real estate business and how we navigated in the early days based on our personalities, understanding, and knowledge. We will go over analytical versus organic thought processes and explain how we found a way to overcome those obstacles. We hope to share our journey with you so that you can get to know us and get personal advice on how we work together starting our real estate journey. So sit back, relax, and learn about our real estate path.
All right, everybody, here we go. My name is Chris. This is Stephanie.
Hey.
And you're on in just a minute. But what we're going to do a little something different today.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about how sometimes it's important to be more analytical, and sometimes it's important to be more spontaneous.
Or organic, like I like to call it.
And we've seen this in multiple ways within our relationship.
Yeah.
For example, when I first started my business, I was really analytical. Everything had to be just right. But it took her to be spontaneous enough to say, hey, just get out there, roll with the punches, and make it happen.
Absolutely. I tell my husband all the time that sometimes it's more important to be organic, go with the flow, spontaneous. And I love that. And I really feel like when you're that way, you can be more creative and the outcome is just awesome. But he doesn't necessarily think that way.
No, I think that if you can have a spreadsheet, if you can have a plan, make one.
And I tell him all the time that planning stuff is fine. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some of you guys out there that love a spreadsheet. Okay, I hear you, there we are. But I think for me, organic is really king because like one time we went to Cleveland, remember? And
I remember.
Actually, the destination was not Cleveland. It was a different state, but we were hungry. It was getting late. And I was like, hey, there's Cleveland right there. Let's just go over to Cleveland and just explore. And by the end of the night, we had an awesome time. We found this awesome restaurant. It was absolutely amazing. And those are memories we created, for the rest of our lives. But let him tell it.
Yeah, that's not what happened. We're going down the highway. It's the middle of the night. She sees Cleveland, she sees a hotel off there, she's like, let's go to that one. Like, no, we already have plans to make it all the way to Illinois and sleep there tonight. But we went with her, we had an amazing time.
Yes.
But, of course, it was a little more stressful than it probably had to be.
Stressful for you.
Definitely stressful.
Fun for me.
But it goes, like if you look at how I started my business, a lot of that played into it. Like me, I'm always about going into my feasibility study, making a spreadsheet, coming up with a plan. But oftentimes that can be counterproductive because you miss out on some of the opportunities that are available by just being in the mix.
Yeah.
For example, some of the most lucrative opportunities that we've had came about because we were just out there being how you pronounce it?
Spontaneous.
Being spontaneous. And we ran across somebody who had an amazing opportunity, and because we were there, available and ready to spend money, we were able to take advantage of that opportunity.
I think it's really funny. I joke all the time about how my husband is like, oh, we need a spreadsheet for that. And oh, yeah, we need a spreadsheet for that. And oh, by the way, we need to create another spreadsheet. And I literally want to tear my hair out because I'm like, hey, listen, we don't need a spreadsheet for everything. For example, we were moving from the East Coast over to the West Coast. And I was so super excited. All the things that I wanted to do, as a family. And here he goes. We need to create a spreadsheet for that. Oh, my Lord. But it turned out really well.
Here on time, on budget, and safe.
It turned out really well. It did. I thought it was going to take a lot of the spontaneity out of it, but it didn't. It really helped us kind of stay on track with gas, hotels, and different things like that. So since you're so against the organic path, can you tell our viewers out there why is spreadsheet and planning so important?
Because it's important because there are some mandatory benchmarks that have to be met in every situation. During tax season or when it's time to do the accounts payables, account receivable, you're definitely going to want to have that spreadsheet because please believe if you're not keeping track, somebody is. And you're going to want to rely on your books as opposed to theirs.
Absolutely. And I know we wanted to talk about like your business. We're not going to talk about it in depth because we have some more videos coming down the line as far as that's concerned. But I think we want to share with our viewers how the kind of spontaneity and the plan spreadsheet, how does that go together? I mean, how do we mix that? That's like a plan for failure, right?
Gotcha. And we're in no way trying to put ourselves out here about like we're subject matter experts.
No.
We're just normal people trying to do extraordinary things.
Right.
And we're hoping that you may gravitate to something that we say and maybe it'll work in your life. You know, but as to what she was saying about how spontaneity and being analytical play together, you need both. Because when you're dealing with something like real estate, there are thousands of opportunities, thousands of options. And you need somebody who is meticulous enough to pour through every one in a standardized way to make sure that you get what you initially came looking for. But you need someone who's spontaneous enough.
See, you're not spontaneous at all, which is why you can't even say the word.
Yeah, exactly. It's like allergic to my system. But you need someone there who has that flair, who that risk taker to say, hey, listen, this may not be what we came here for, but it's an amazing opportunity. And we've had that happen several times.
Yes,
I can remember one time we were going to a business venture and I had spent months pouring over 10,000 different potential properties.
Yes.
And we picked out 10 and all 10 of them fell through.
Yeah.
We got a phone call from someone that we have been doing business with and said, hey, listen, I know you're in the market. Take a look at this one. And I'm thinking, I haven't gone by there yet. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. It does not fit within the system. And she's like, hey, listen, we trust this person.
Right.
We've done business with them in the past and they've always led us in the right direction. Let's step out there on faith and take a risk.
Absolutely.
And it was a great deal. Just having that spontaneity and taking that risk, we were able to reap those benefits. However, there have been situations where it ended the total different way, to where we were so spontaneous that we ended up losing some money or taking a risk that we could have avoided. So.
But honestly, I feel like being more spontaneous, and I call it organic, right? Being just organic I think it's actually helped us more than it's hurt us. I can think about a time in particular when we were in a bidding war. We were looking at getting our third property, and it was one of those, what you call it, like a bank sale or something like that?
A state sale.
State sale. And Krishan had his little spreadsheet. You can imagine, right? His little glasses on, little spreadsheet, and he was like, we're getting really close to that number, right? We had a top number that we weren't willing to go past, or he wasn't willing to go past. He didn't know that yet. But we got to that top number, and what did you say?
I was nervous. I was like, hey, listen, it does not meet our benchmarks. Maybe we should stop.
And I was like, bid, more, risk. And I do feel like that runs his blood pressure up just a little bit. Sorry about
just a tad bit.
But tell him how that came out.
But you need that person. Like when you're a super analytical person, when you've looked in every corner, turned under every rock over, you're hypersensitive to every different factor. And in that situation, I was so focused on the bottom line that I wasn't seeing the reward that was on the back end. We ended up making a good deal of money off of that property, but it took her in that moment to tell me, hey, step out from behind all these benchmarks and spreadsheets that you've prepared and take the risk. And it worked out. It was a very expensive property, but we made a good return on it.
And I would say, just to explain a little bit better, is Krishan is more of like the numbers guy, and I'm more of like the support piece, because I do realize how important that is. I know that I have a really like crazy personality, and I make an extremely good cheerleader. I've been cheering people on my whole life to reach their goals, and I do the same for him. And when he comes in with an idea, because he's a dreamer, I'm more realist. When he comes in with an idea, I support that idea, and sometimes we see it through fruition, and then sometimes it does fall flat because it's not something that could be carried through. But I do that and I don't have a whole lot to offer because he's the money guy and he's got that going. And I thought, well, hey, I can support him and be his support system and kind of give him that encouragement. And I would say that that's helped from my perspective. But what would you say from your perspective?
I 100% agree. I'm more of the planner and she's more of the action. I'll create this amazing plan, and it'll sit there and I'll say let it rest a little bit, let it gain some more flavor. And she's like, nope, let's go ahead and take action. Let's go ahead and eat.
Move it, brother.
And it works well because you need that person in your corner who will tell you that it's time to take action when you have kind of sort of lost a little bit of faith in yourself. Because every now and then you'll have that moment to when you have to take action. And when you're like us, when you've saved every penny that you're going to invest, $1 at a time, it can be super hard to write that check.
Yeah.
Definitely knowing that the risk that you're about to take may potentially put your family in harm's way. So that's something that I had to overcome. And having her there to say, hey, listen, as long as you do the things necessary to not take any unnecessary risks, she'll 100% support me. And that's been a really big help.
I think for me, I look at money just a little bit different, especially when it comes to an investment for our family, right? For our children later on down the line, something we can pass on is money comes, money goes. If we spend money on a property, it will come back, right? We'll work, we'll save, and we'll get that money. In a few months, we'll have that money back. So I think for Krishan, it's more of a, oh my goodness, that money is leaving. And for me, it's like, we'll make it back in a couple of months and we'll be ready to buy another property. So I think it's just kind of like the way we look at it too. And I think that does balance us out a little bit.
It does.
So what else do we want our viewers to know about when you first started your business? I know you were a little nervous about it because I wasn't completely on board and he throws me under the bus quite often.
Yeah. So one thing I say, we knew nothing about real estate when we got started. Absolutely nothing. But I've always been a big fan of hiring your weaknesses. So I knew that I had the ability to, analyze the basics of it and use the strengths that I already have to make the business work, as well as tag in the individuals necessary to fill those gaps in. When I came to her with the initial idea, I didn't really know enough about real estate to effectively communicate to her exactly what all the steps were. So she was a little hesitant, and she was like, I 100% support you in what you want to do, but don't spend any of my money and don't do anything that you can't get yourself out of later on. But that was all I needed to go ahead and get started. So.
And I've learned over the years, I really needed to know, for me, I'm a learner where I have to experience it, right? And I have to touch it and I have to see it and I have to get the details behind it. And I know it's a lot, but that's what I needed. So when we bought the first property, I was able to kind of like see the money come in, see the money come out, because we have certain accounts where if we needed to fix something on the property and he would show me, he's like, okay, we're going to pull the money out of here, and then next month we're going to get the money comes in here, and then I'll save a certain percentage, and then we have the other properties. And he was kind of able to show me. Also, something too that I really appreciate is he was actually to kind of start to involve me. He saw how I didn't really understand it and I was kind of standoffish a little bit, and he's like, hey, come on, let me just show you, create a couple of invoices, let me show you how we earn the interest. And that helped.
That's a big deal because action begets action. When you sit back and you talk about something, of course you're not going to gain any support. But when you start taking the steps necessary to achieve your goal, when she starts seeing that, hey, these properties will make money, hey, this is a very exciting market to be in, I think that she gravitated more like, okay, now you've shown me what can be accomplished. Let's go ahead and accomplish it.
So what would you say so far, we've kind of shared with the viewers about our personality and in the very beginning, what would you say would be your learning lesson? What did you kind of sort of bring from the beginning, our very beginning, and maybe what do you wish you would have done differently?
I honestly would say I would do everything exactly the same, because even in the missteps that I took, there was a lesson to be learned. And even when my plan didn't go exactly the plan, I met somebody or I was exposed to something new that took me in a direction. It's like everything was meant to happen exactly the way it was supposed to. I call myself the luckiest person on earth. I can trip and fall into some money. It's just how I am. So.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would have done anything, maybe be a little bit more supportive in the beginning. But I do feel like caution is when you feel like, okay, you need to be cautioned about something and be really careful about something. That's just your body telling you there's something important, right? Yeah. Krishan tells me that all the time. Whenever you feel fear or you feel like, oh, I need to be super cautious about, be very cautious about something. That's just your body telling you, hey, this is very important. What you're getting ready to do is do something very important. So I'm learning that as I'm going along. But I would say if I had to change something, that would be the one thing I would change, is to be a little more supportive in the beginning.
But I don't think that was, I think that was a good thing that she wasn't that supportive in the beginning, because, like I say, I'm a dreamer, and sometimes that can be dangerous, so seeing her hesitation kind of put me more on guard to make sure that I had all the things in place. I made sure that I had enough insurance that if something happened to me, she wouldn't be left holding the bag. I make sure that all the ventures that I went into had a well-defined exit strategy.
Well, I just want to thank all of the viewers, all of you, for joining us on our first little couple chat. I'm not really sure what we're going to call this moving forward, but Wednesdays will be Krishan's day. We're going to talk about the business together. If you have questions, put them down in the description box below, and we can kind of set these questions to the side, and maybe we can kind of tailor some of those questions at the end of each video and maybe answer some of your questions. We definitely want to thank you so much for supporting our channel and what we do. It's very important to us, just to kind of give back and see if we can impart any knowledge upon you.
Gotcha. And what reason why I want to do this is because, that's one thing I do wish that I had have done earlier, is to try to document some of this stuff, because it's been an amazing journey. Some great opportunities come about, and we've met some amazing people. And I wish that I would have had a video documentation that I can go back and relive some of those experiences. Also, I want to put information out there just in case there's someone out there who's like me, who is looking for the information, just doesn't know where to go. Because I'm not going to sit here and say that I come from a super bad situation, because I know that there's somebody out there who's had it twice as bad as I have, and it's twice as successful.
Right.
Only thing I want to do is put out information so that if someone is similar to me or looking for similar things, they have a place to go find it.
Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you, and do something nice for someone today, and you can do it.